from Tom and Jerry. That's what it was. That's why I had that in my mind. And that is why I associated it with France, because Gene Kelly was a mighty big fan of France. Anyway. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Return of the Obra Dinn. If you weren't here for the live stream, you missed out on my Gene Kelly connection. I will tell you this: go look up Gene Kelly, Jerry Mouse. That'll fix you. Now, we have got a few people left to go, and I did say we were gonna make our way through via a walkthrough to get to the end of this, because we still have another chapter we haven't even unlocked. And I do want to finish this game tonight. So we're just going to go through and mark everybody. Gameplay be damned. We're in this for completion right now. We have a couple people who were spiked and or speared by terrible beasts in this chapter. This could be Winston Smith, the carpenter, and I'm inclined to believe it is. I don't know why. I feel like that's him. Who's next? Soldiers of the Sea. Excuse me. This guy spiked by a terrible beast. I don't think you're the carpenter's mate. And this guy also spiked by a terrible beast. Winston Smith, Nicholas Botrill, Marcus Gibb, and Emil O'Farrell were all spiked / speared by terrible beasts. So we're just gonna go unknown on you guys for a minute. I feel like you're the carpenter, but just you know, sake of argument, we'll skip it for now. Next, I'm going with you being Omid. The Doom. There's a lot of people in the Doom. It's like 8 or 9 that we, could like really pin down. If you are Omid, you weren't devoured. You fell overboard. Next. Sandra Booth. Maybe. Hi. Perfect. Back to the Doom. Okay, so it finishes up the Doom. You know what? We could look up Salty. I ain't gonna do it. I respect the man too much. Just want to make sure there's no one else. I don't think there is. Okay. And I need to not look at the hidden chapter because I don't want to spoil any of that. Can we do it via this? Yes, okay. Winston Smith. Winston Smith is the carpenter. Marcus Gibbs is the carpenter's mate. Let's get out of here. In a bold turn of acceptance, this is Winston. And this is Marcus. Why did I only get 2 that time? Surely there was a 3rd. Yeah, because there's this dude. Soldiers of the Sea. Ship steward. Are we gonna have to get Salty? That's a bummer. Pardon me. Well, I think I'm not going to look up Salty. I think we've probably exhausted all other options. I feel like Salty's should be just a seaman though, not a top man. Right? Okay, we'll go with that.
All done? We should go. Storm's nearly about, so we won't be coming back. If you've still business here, climb up and finish it. Else I'll make to port.
You need to remember Q exists. Happened to the captain. You know what happened happened to William. We know what happened to Edward. We don't know what happened to Martin yet. Zungi is the next one I have on my list. That is not correct, though. He was poisoned. No, he was shot with a gun by Charles. Somehow I missed that. All solvable fates. Perfect. Salty, you'll be in our heart. Hearts. Let's go, man.
Ready to go?
Yes. So let's go. Oh. Yeah, that doesn't really work.
Down so you don't fall out.
It's gonna make it black and everything's black already. I can't see what it's doing. Now, I tell you right now, I'm not proud of doing the game this way. I'm not. But, like I said, I don't want to be stuck doing this for another couple weeks while I try and figure this out on my own. 'Cause I'm not the brightest crayon in the drawer. Not the sharpest onion in the knife. Other things that are totally sayings that I didn't confuse or make up. Like this. He died at the sea. You owe us 100 pounds. I guess pause these if you want to check them. Because there's 23 pages. Burned. Findings of merit. Extraordinary valor. Exceptional performance of duties. Here's $50. This guy was eaten by a thing. He got 45. It's just like my signature. Doctor Who now? Or a Doctor Strange? Am I a multiverse, sir? Get up, but I can't turn around.
Oh, goodness. What a nice day. You know, you should be out in it then. Right, well, get yourself home then. And tell Martha I said hello.
God.
Can you believe it? A package at this hour? Oh, the thing smells just dreadful. Better you don't open it inside. I'll be turning in now.
What?
Tea's in the kitchen if you need more.
She was a crab demon all along. Dr. Evans has passed. Oh, he succumbed to his illness. He's fallen from wounds. Means to complete it. So the three of us that remain, the Obra Dinn is just do not write back. Jane Bird. Okay. You were on the boat. I remember that. A monkey's paw kind of thing. H.E. Henry Evans, right there. Okay.
There you are. Collect your things. Where's the key? To that door. Gone. Damn. There's no time. We need to go. Right. Here you go. What are you up to? Nothing good.
Is that the monkey? Oh, they shot the monkey. Oh, well, Martin here. Looks like he's been spiked. Can I not, no? And that was, where is he? Philippe. It was a monkey's paw. A friendly but not entirely pleasant monkey companion was sacrificed in the pursuit of knowledge.
good shell. The captain didn't toss them all.
Leave it. Help me lift it. Stop! Why? Well, set you free. Give it the shell.
Eh?
Do it. Hoist it out. To the main deck. Throw it over. Lock the door when you leave.
Get the tail, boy.
In return, the ship. The Obra Dinn. See it home.
Okay. Maybe. Oh. No. Something was gonna happen. You are speared, we'll say. The monkey? Really?
I'll kill every last one of you monsters! Withdraw the Kraken, or I will kill you all! Ah!
Oh my. So, crab things called the giant squid because we had the shell? Captain figured it out? Is that what I'm getting here? I do kind of wish I could watch all this happening. I mean, not in terms of like gameplay, I just want to see it, you know. The captured beast fought against its jailer and was speared for the trouble. Okay. Oh, that's not the monkey, that's the mermaid thingy.
Call it off, damn you! This is your Kraken! You brought it here! Send it back!
Just gonna hang out there? Leap. And then, oh, woolly creature's defiant shrieks were greeted with a fatal bullet.
What's this? Quicksilver. Herre min Gud!
Well, you don't touch mercury with your hands, you dummy. Looks like my man got some nasty burns. Bonk. Saying boo earns. I'm not saying boo, I'm saying boo earns. Ain't much of an ending. We got some time left, so I'm going to take a moment. I pulled up like a little synopsis here. I'll read it. In 1802, the Obra Dinn launches from London with a full crew and some passengers, including 4 Formosians, It Bang Sa, Bun Lan Lim, and guards Chio Tan and Hok Seng Lao. The Formosians travel with 2 main plot devices, a chest which houses a magical shell. Chapter 1, Loose Cargo. The Obra Dinn is at port in Falmouth, taking on cargo under the supervision of Danish seaman Lars Lind. A rope carrying cargo snaps, and the pallet falls, crushing another seaman, Samuel Peters. Unbeknownst to the crew, a stowaway hiding in one of the barrels also died from the fall. Chapter 2, A Bitter Cold. As the Obra Dinn sails by the coast of Portugal, 2 Indian seamen, Solomon Syed and Renfred Rajub, succumb to a fatal lung disease, which they may have contracted in a Lascar house. Meanwhile, midshipmen Thomas Lank, Peter Milroy, and Charles Hirschtick assist the ship's butcher, Emile O'Farrell, in the slaughtering of a cow for its meat. Chapter 3, Murder. When the ship passes by the Canary Islands, second mate Edward Nichols secretly slips into the cargo hold. He knocks a guard, Hok Seng Lao, unconscious and breaks into the room containing the Formosan chest. As Nichols is about to take the shell inside the chest, an Italian passenger, Nunzio Pasqua, wanders into the cargo hold and catches him in the act. His theft thwarted, Nichols stabs Pasqua to cover up his crimes. It is implied that Nichols convinces topman Li Hong to intentionally mistranslate Lau's description of the incident as a confession, framing him for murder. Sometime later, Captain Robert Whittrell sentences Lau to death by firing line. The Formosans protest Lau's execution, but to no avail. Meanwhile, Edward Spratt, the ship's artist, draws a sketch of the execution scene. After the execution, Nichols organizes several seamen to help him steal the chest and abduct 2 of the Formosans. In the course of this escape, they attack several other crewmen, and one topman, Timothy Bouterment, is shot dead as he attempts to stop the group. Chapter 4, The Calling. Nicholas Brand begins rowing their 2 boats toward the Canary Islands, but a group of hostile mermaids attack the lifeboats, starting by spearing topman Li Hong in the chest. Nichols takes cover on his boat, and nearly everyone else dies at the hands of the mermaids, with seaman Patrick O'Hagan getting speared, Alexei Toprov and Alarcus Nikishin being drowned, and passenger Bun Lan Lim having her face clawed. In the midst of the fight, passenger It Bang Sa uses the spear that impaled Hong to break free of his bonds. He takes a knife from the bottom of the boat and stabs Samuel Gilligan, Nichols' steward. Sa then takes the shell and places it inside the chest, creating beams of light that stun the mermaids, but the action burns his arm to the bone and costs him his life. Nichols, the only survivor, hauls the unconscious mermaids onto the boat. As he approaches the Obra Dinn and hails the ship, passenger Chio Tan, at this point the only surviving Formosan, shoots Nichols dead. Chapter 5, Unholy Captives. The captured mermaids and the corpses leave Nichols, Lim, and the corpses of Nichols, Lim, and Sai are hauled on board. Captain Whittrell has seaman Hamadao Diom hold Tan for interrogation, with Huang Lin, a Chinese topman, acting as an interpreter. Captain Whittrell interrogates Tan about the death of Nichols, the mermaids, the chest, and the dead Formosans. Tan is only able to get out that the shell is dangerous, yet must be protected before one of the captured mermaids shoots spikes through its netting, piercing him and Diom. The mermaids, even as they are hauled down to the Lazariot, prove dangerous. One of them slaps cook Thomas Sefton in the face with its tail, and seaman William Wassam, one of the crewmen carrying the mermaid to the Lazariot, falls down a flight of stairs, breaking his neck. After the mermaids are hastily secured in the Lazariot, seaman John Naples is implied to be tasked with guarding the door. Philippe Dahl, Captain Whittrell's steward, is upset that the mermaids are being held captive and attempts to free them, attacking Naples and cutting off his leg, resulting in his death. Captain Whittrell, surprised that his, quote, steward of 20 years would do such a terrible thing, brings bosun Alfred Kleistel and his Frenchman, bosun's mate Charles Minor, with him to interrogate Dahl. Dahl attempts to warn them that the mermaids are cursed and urges that they should be thrown back into the sea, but he is instead hauled into the Lazariot and shackled to the floor for his troubles. Chapter 6, Soldiers of the Sea. After these events, the ship turns around and heads back to England. Shortly after the ship comes about, however, a storm strikes. Topman Huang Li is struck by lightning while working in the rigging, and at the same time, 2 mysterious humanoid creatures mounted on giant crabs begin to board the ship from the sides. They attack and kill more of the crew while making their way to the belly of the ship. Whether their agenda is to reach the shells or the mermaids is unclear. They spear topman Nicholas Botterill on the main deck, spike carpenter's mate Marcus Gibbs, and decapitate surgeon's mate James Wallace and topman Ji Zhang on the orlop deck. Midshipman Charles Hershtick, one of the crewmen fighting the crab riders, manages to kill one by throwing a lantern at it, but he burns to death along with it. Harry Evans, the ship's surgeon, attempts to remove a spiked butcher, O'Farrell, from the wall, killing him in the process. The second crab rider is close behind. Minor attempts to shoot it, but accidentally shoots the ship's steward, Zungi Sathi, who, unbeknownst to everyone, crawled behind a wall after being spiked earlier. Oh, that's why he was shot, not spiked. The crew pursues the crab rider to the cargo deck, and Winston Smith, the ship's carpenter, shoots and kills the other crab rider with a blunderbuss as it spears him to death. Chapter 7, The Doom. Having survived the crab rider attack, 3 crewmen, seaman Alexander Booth, Nathan Peters, and purser Duncan McKay, decided to escape in one of the lifeboats. When seaman Lars Lind asked to join the group, Peters refuses and clubbed Lind clubs Lind, for killing his brother Samuel in Chapter 1, in spite of Lind and Booth's protests that the death was accidental. West of Madeira, a kraken attacks the ship, causing the deaths of 16 further crewmen, those being artist Edward Spratt, who was strangled by the kraken, seaman Abraham Akbar, who was crushed by the kraken, seaman George Shirley, who was pulled or shot out of the window and drowned by the kraken, gunner Christian Wolf, who was shot with a cannon by the kraken, third mate's steward Roderick Anderson, who was crushed by a loose cannon, midshipman Peter Milroy, who was caught in an explosion, topman Omid Gull, who fell overboard, and topman Maba, who was torn in half by the kraken. Meanwhile, those of the crew that had escaped in the lifeboat, seaman Nathan Peters, Alexander Booth, and purser Duncan McKay, all fell overboard and drowned when the kraken flung their lifeboat into the air. The captain's wife, passenger Abigail Hoskett Whittrell, who stepped outside to look for her husband, was crushed by falling rigging. Helmsman Finley Dalton and topman Wiley were pulled into the sea and drowned, and boatswain's mate Charles Minor was torn apart. The survivors after the attack made up only a skeleton crew. Chapter 8. Bargain. Inside the Lazaret, Captain Steward Dahl breaks free from his handcuffs. He opens the chest and pulls out the shell, but it burns off his arm and he dies, finding it full of an unknown substance that resembles quicksilver. During the Kraken attack, Captain Whittrell deduces that the mermaids are responsible, so he enters the Lazaret and kills off 2 of them in the hopes that they call off the attack. He takes 2 shells and possibly throws them overboard, but it is not fully confirmed in the narrative. Whether due to the shells or the last remaining mermaid calling off the Kraken, the attack stops and the storm subsides. Later, third mate Martin Perrott, sends stewards Paul Moss and Davy James, and they enter the Lazaret only to come across the 3rd shell in Dahl's hands. Perrault is spiked before he can assure the mermaid that he has come to set it free. Mortally wounded, he orders the 2 stewards to give the mermaid the shell, throw it overboard, and lock the door to the Lazaret as they leave. He also asks the mermaid to see the Obra Dinn home. Later still, Moss finds the ship's surgeon, Henry Evans, attempting to enter the Lazaret when the key to it has been disposed of. Aware of the functionality of a pocket watch called the Memento Mortem, and assuming that the East India Company would use the watch to investigate the ship should it ever make it back to port, Evan ties his pet monkey to a rope and shoots it into the Lazaret and keeps its paw before leaving. Chapter 9. The Escape. Now north of Madeira, 4th mate John Davies helps the dying bosun, Alfred Kleistel, to a chair in the gun deck. Davies tells him that his Frenchman was torn apart and that the Kraken went away with the storm thanks to Captain Whitterell. Shortly after, Kleistel dies of severe blood loss. Gunner's mate Ollis Whiter expresses doubt of Captain Whitterell's trustworthiness, and he broaches the subject of mutiny with Davies, planning to take over the ship and sell the wretched fish and shells. Thomas Lank, the only surviving midshipman at this point, overhears the conversation and panics, alerting the crewmen of mutiny. Whiter gives chase and stabs Lank in the back. Meanwhile, on the main deck, Evans, James, Moss, and passengers Emily Jackson and Jane Bird attempt to leave the ship on the last remaining boat, but Leonid Volkov, a Russian topman, catches the group and attacks, getting into a sword fight with Moss. Despite the intervention of Captain Whitterell, first mate William Hoskett, seaman Henry Brennan, and topman Lewis Walker, Volkov stabs Moss, killing him. He proceeds to try and attack the others, but Jackson quickly shoots him down, killing him. Unaware of the shot fired on the main deck, Davies attempts to stop Whittier from further harming the now mortally wounded Lank, reaching for Waiter's gun, and during the scuffle, the gun blows off Waiter's face. The dust-up catches the attention of first mate Hoskett, who rushes to the dying Lank's aid as seaman Brennan clubs Davies, wrongly believing that Davies killed Waiter intentionally. As Hoskett tends to the dying Lank, Lewis Walker throws Volkov's body overboard, and the boat carrying Jackson, Bird, James, and Evans departs. Captain Whitterell slumps over, utterly defeated. Chapter 10. The End. After an indeterminate amount of time has passed, First Mate Hoskett and Seaman Brennan and Topman Walker all turn on the captain and attempt to extort the shells from him, but he says he has thrown them all overboard. The crewmen do not buy this explanation and attack him. The captain is forced to kill them all in self-defense. He shoots Hoskett with a gun, slits Brennan's throat, and clubs Walker in the head, who had already stabbed a knife into the captain's side. After contemplation and overcome with grief, Captain Wooderl sits beside his wife's body, lamenting the death of Hoskett, and asks for her forgiveness before shooting himself. 5 years later, back in Falmouth, 1807, the Obra Dinn unexpectedly drifts back to port. An East India Company insurance inspector is summoned to determine what happened aboard the ship during his 5-year disappearance, and are given a catalog and the pocket watch, both of which Surgeon Henry Evans mailed to the East India Company from Morocco. The sole mermaid watches from a distance in the water, having successfully seen the Obra Dinn home the past 5 years. That would be the sparkle thing we saw. Okay. The inspector concludes their investigation and leaves the ship as the storm brews on the horizon. After leaving, the Obra Dinn promptly sinks in the storm. The inspector then prepares a full insurance assessment for the East India Company and mails the book back to Henry Evans. A year later, Surgeon Henry Evans dies in Africa due to illness, and one of the surviving passengers, Jane Bird, sends the inspector a letter about how Evans felt about the inspector's performance. The contents of this letter depend on how many fates the inspector has correctly solved prior to their return. If few fates were solved, the letter tells of Evans' severe dissatisfaction with the inspector's results, and Bird notes that this depression prevented any recovery from his illness. If many, but not all, fates were solved, the letter instead states that Evans was generally pleased with the inspector's incomplete results, remarking that his final wish is to see a completed book, but it would be rather difficult, and he forgives the inspector. If all 58 fates are completed, however, Bird instead sends the letter along with the catalog back to the inspector. The letter states that Evans was quite pleased with the inspector's work and asked that the catalog be returned to the inspector along with the means to complete it. The inspector also receives a package containing the paw from Evans' monkey. Using the pocket watch on the paw, the inspector is transported to the previously inaccessible Lazariat. Here the inspector fills out the remaining 2 fates. The inspector keeps the catalog, placing it on its shelf. So there we go. It's the whole story of the Obra Dinn. I would like to know what the Formosans were doing with the chest and where they were going and all that. That'd be a little interesting. What's its connection to the mermaids and the crab demons, etc., etc. Very enjoyable game, though. I liked playing it. Again, this is not a game I think I would... There's not really much replay value to it, but it was fun. I enjoyed playing it. I hope you all enjoyed watching it. I know it got really slow there at the end. We've got a little bit of time left, so here's what I'm going to do. We're going to turn that off. We're going to open up Foobar. Did I have a favorite fate to solve? Oh, that's a good question. I mean, Salty is the obvious answer. The monkey was good. Wasn't expecting there to be a monkey fate. Honestly, I think the guy that they executed was the most clever, because you had to, as it was explained to me, because I couldn't figure it out, was trying to find which person actually shot him. That's better. Because you had to follow the path of the bullet, and I said it then, and I'll say it again now. If you had 4 people shooting a guy that close with those guns, and only one of them was able to hit him, you know, you need to hire better gunners. It was enjoyable, and I liked the game. Next game, I'm going to pick the game for us. I've already picked it. I've decided. I've had it decided for a while. We are going to do Super Mario World. I don't have a Let's Play of Super Mario World. I think that would be a fun little one to stream. Shouldn't take us too terribly long. After that, I need to get back to one of the games that's been donated to me. So probably Medieval 2 or Blasto. because I told Scarlett we'd do one. It'll be one of those after Super Mario World, and then after that, we'll have another poll. We'll pick another game to play. We'll have a couple more to pick from by then, because that Humble Monthly is ever going and ever expanding. So, I think that's enough. I really liked Obra Dinn. I mean, I would tell you all to go play it, but I don't think it's not a game that I think you can approach differently once you've seen it finished. It's like, well, if I played it, I'd play it this way, and I'd put more skill points into luck, and not quite so much into charisma. You know what I mean? It's good though. It's good. I know the guy that made that also made Papers, Please, and that one has got some various options for playthrough. So, I guess if you like this kind of thing, maybe check out Papers, Please. Might be worth your while. It might not be, but it might be. You don't know, and I don't know. So, we need to come over here and do this. Little short one tonight, that's okay. Not every stream needs to be exactly 2 hours. I don't think anyway. I want to thank y'all for joining me. I hope you had a good time. Hope you enjoyed the stream. Hope you enjoyed the game. I had a pretty good time with it. Like I said, we'll be back next week with Super Mario World. Check out jasonsgroovemachine.com if you want to check all the old episodes of this and all the other crap I've streamed and played. What else can I tell you? Jason's Groove Machine on YouTube. Got stuff going on there pretty much all the damn time. Electric Leftovers podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. If you want to kick in a couple bucks and support the show and get access to video versions of the podcast, you can do that if you want to. Visit buymeacoffee.com/electricleft. See, there's a website right there. Even tell you where to go. Thank you guys very much for joining.